Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me. In today's video, we're going to be following up with the House of Horror story, the Turpin family. And I'm going to do my best to keep my cool, because how ugly can people be? You know, the whole purpose of this channel is to keep you aware of what could go wrong in this crazy world, with the hopes that we're better prepared whenever we're faced with anything like that. My friends, if that sounds like something you like to follow, please hit that subscribe button, click on that like, and that lets me know, lets YouTube know that you got some value. And in this episode, this is a tearjerker, a gross topic, and we're going to be covering it. Because at the end of the day, bad things happen to good people. And what we need to do is know what can go wrong around us, or when someone else's life is hurting. And that's exactly what we're going to be diving into. So, number one, if you are not familiar with the Turpin story, I did a video on it, and you can find that right up here. You can follow, catch up with it. I'm going to give you a quick little rundown about it, but you can catch up with it the whole way. Maybe these two faces look familiar to you. Louise and David Turpin from Riverside County, California. This California couple, Louise and David, were sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for the abuse of 12 of their 13 children. The couple did plead guilty in this case, and deputies in Riverside, California say that their, at that time, 17-year-old daughter escaped their home in January 2018, and she told authorities that she and her siblings were made to live in squalid conditions. She said that some of them were chained to their bed. That's part of what makes this such a terrible story. And again, I shared that whole video with the daughter talking to the police officer. Again, if you've not seen that video, just click here. You know, one of the female victims, she even said, "My parents took my whole life from me, and now I'm trying to take it back." One of the brothers said, "I love my parents and I have forgiven them for much of what they did. Since January of 2019, he had learned to ride a bike. He's getting a bachelor's degree in software engineer with the plan of getting a job as a software engineer and go to school part-time to get his master's. The boy was doing everything he can to get on the right track in his life." One of the children, a son, said he forgives his parents, yet even he didn't mince words about what they did. He said, "I cannot describe in words what we went through growing up. Sometimes I still have nightmares of things that happened, such as my siblings being chained up and beaten." He said he plans on becoming a software engineer. And Louise and David Turpin, they both pleaded guilty to a total of 14 felony charges, 1 count of torture, 4 counts of false imprisonment, 6 counts of cruelty to an adult dependent, and 3 counts of willful child cruelty. And there were no counts over the youngest child, who was 2 at the time of the escape. And so after they're taken away from their family, you would think things would get better for these kids. Unfortunately, it does not get better for all of them. And you can see in this picture here when Louise and David renewed their wedding vows in 2013. And the two faces you see that are not blurred out is Jennifer and Jordan Turpin, who did speak on camera to the show 2020. You probably saw that if you followed this case. And so several of the Turpin siblings who were rescued from the since admitted torture at the hands of their parents, now they have filed a lawsuit claiming that the county and a private foster care agency knowingly placed them in the care of guardians who sexually, physically, and emotionally abuse the already fragile children. And in a complaint filed against Riverside County ChildNet Youth and Family Services and 50 unnamed defendants, 2 of the Turpin siblings allege multiple violations of the Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Act, negligence and breaches of duty as they endured continued abuse at the hands of their new guardians. And the charging documents really outline a lot. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing by any means, but this Superior Court of the State of California, this is Jane Doe 5 and John Doe 6, who are the plaintiffs, versus the ChildNet Youth and Family Services Foster Family Network, County of Riverside, and those 1 through 50. And warning, before we get into it, it's not even easy for me to share, so I'm going to even share what I feel comfortable sharing. These kids have been through so much, it literally breaks my heart. So here is your warning if you're easily triggered by any of this. I'm not going over the document, but I'm going to share some of what's in the document. According to the complaint, after the children were rescued from the House of Horrors, where they had virtually no contact with the outside world, the county and ChildNet placed the plaintiffs and 4 of their siblings with a married couple that ChildNet certified as foster parents. Let me tell you, as someone who went through the foster care system, let's be real, some people are a part of the system just for the money, not because they care about the children. And it's so sad when this is not taken seriously. Now, maybe in their mind, they think that they're doing what's best for the child, but to me, they did not do what's best for the child, because if not, this would have been prevented. Now, again, stupid people are going to be stupid. Now, who could be so heinous to do this to already hurt kids? We're going to dive into who that is. The siblings alleged that the married couple, identified in the complaint as Mr. and Mrs. O, subjected them to continued and oftentimes worse forms of physical and mental abuse. So after being rescued by the people who they thought were going to be helping with them, they are taken away from their family and they go to live with Mr. and Mrs. O and their adult daughter from early 2018 until the 3 were arrested by deputies with the Riverside County Sheriff's Office in March 2021 for crimes stemming from the alleged sexual and physical abuse of foster children. And this is according to the complaint. The complaint says defendants knew that they were unfit to be foster parents, particularly for children as vulnerable as plaintiffs, because Mr. and Miss O had a prior history of physically and emotionally abusing children, as well as severely neglecting children who had been placed in their care. And this is according to the complaint, which is more reasons why how did the Turpin kids end up with these criminals. It goes on to say defendants were aware of credible reports of abuse and neglect committed by Mr. and Mrs. O and their adult daughter. However, defendants did not act upon that information. Again, trigger warning, the abusive acts that were alleged in this complaint include Mr. O sexually abusing Jane Doe 5 and her siblings by grabbing and fondling their buttocks, legs, and breasts, even kissing them on the mouth and making sexually suggestive comments about them. This is chilling in so many ways. Let's be real. These kids will never be the same. They were already damaged. Now it's worse. How are they ever going to trust anybody? How are they going to trust anybody? The people who were supposed to look out for them put them in the care of someone who wasn't worthy of caring for them. That's what makes this more sickening. And the couple and their daughter physically abused the children by pulling their hair, hitting them with a belt, and striking their heads. And these foster parents, who's supposed to be their guardians, punished the children by forcing them to sit outside alone for many hours at a time, making them recount the horrors of living with their biological parents, telling them they would be returned to their biological parents, and urging them to die by suicide. These are such heinous crimes. I'm sure they're going to get their day in court, but right now it does not look good, especially if there was a history of this before the Turpin kids went there. They also allegedly forced the kids to eat excessive amounts of food, which led to eating disorders and made them eat until they began to vomit. And after they began to vomit, the foster parents forced them to eat their vomit. That is sick. The children were also forced to watch as another foster child in the adult daughter's care was severely physically abused and tortured. And the foster family, they have been charged with this horrific criminal crimes, and this is only the tip of the iceberg. Allegedly, from the siblings' attorney, he says the county of Riverside and ChildNet turned their heads and closed their eyes as some of Riverside's most vulnerable children were being horrifically abused for a second time. This is simply unacceptable. I agree. How does this even happen? And so 6 of the youngest 13 Turpin children, they have filed this lawsuit against Riverside County and a private foster care agency, ChildNet Youth and Family Services. And so Mr. and Mrs. O, also, that's what they're called in the document itself. Marcelino Alleging, 63 years old, of Perris, is now facing 7 counts of committing a lewd and lascivious act on a child after allegedly victimizing 2 of the 13 Turpin siblings who escaped their parents' home in 2018. Alleging's 58-year-old wife, Rosa, and his daughter, Lenny's 37, are also facing charges of fraud and witness intimidation. And so these charging documents show that Marcelino inappropriately touched 2 of the girls, including one who was under 14 years old, more than 50 times on their upper thighs and buttocks. This foster dad also forcibly kissed the victims, told them they were sexy, and recommended that they not wear undershirt. And this is according to an affidavit. And when he approached for a comment, of course, he had little to say. When asked if he was a pedophile or regretted abusing some of the Turpin children, he just said, F you, without saying the letter. The Allegings, they had a total of 9 foster children and threatened 5 of the Turpin siblings that they wouldn't see their older sisters and brothers again unless they complied with the abuse. After being taken away from their biological parents in 2018, 5 younger Turpin siblings were first placed in the Alleging's care in April 2018. And this was just 4 months after they were freed. Their new foster parents lived in a 5-bedroom home less than 10 miles away from the House of Horrors residence, which you can see right here. The Allegings also allegedly encouraged 2 of their foster children to fight, telling one she would end up as a white piece of shit on the curb like her biological mother. Marcelino Alleging, Rosa Alleging, and Lenny Alleging were arraigned on charges of physically and psychologically abusing 9 children, including 5 Turpin siblings. All 3 pleaded guilty and were released on bail. As I said, as sad, as despicable, if you're a person of prayer, please pray for these kids, please. They have been through so much. And let me tell you, as someone who has been through a rough childhood, it never gets easy. You just learn how to get better with who you are. And truth is, we can only pray for these kids. My friends, be careful out there. If you know something, see something, say something. Please don't turn a blind eye. These kids, they only have us to protect them, especially when your own biological parents don't protect you or overprotect you. Whatever they thought they were doing right, it was as despicable as can be. The House of Horrors did not end for most of these kids. Sad to say. My friends, I look forward to serving you guys again. That is the continued story of the Turpin family, the House of Horrors. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me today. Have an amazing day. Peace.